So
Yeah.
welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight, and today we are talking to Alobar Jones. His website is alobarjones.com. I hope I didn't butcher your name. And yeah, he is an exorcist, and we are going to talk about his experiences, how that came about. So, Alobar, welcome to Night Flight.
Yeah, g'day everybody. Hello from Australia. I became an exorcist because I saw an ad in the paper for an exorcist, and I thought that's a job I would like. No, that actually never happened. Like, it's not easy to become an exorcist. There is nothing simple about it because you can't learn exorcism anywhere. There's nobody in the world teaching it. There's almost nothing if that's your problem, you know? And so over the course of 15 years, pretty much reinvented the art of exorcism. And and it sounds like a weird and odd sort of hobby to pursue, but it actually does have practical applications. And for those people who are not happy with their mental health treatment, it is my theory that 100% of serious mental health issues are because of demonic interference. And I'll say that again, every single mental health issue is related to demonic interference. They're always there. And so what I'm finding is that this is the treatment that really helps people who are lost. For people who have been medicated up to here, who've been washing in and out of psych wards for years, this is the treatment they're actually looking for. This is the technological shift that is actually effective in that arena.
Mm-hmm. So, in other words, we know that the Catholic Church has exorcists, and so do they train their people? And if yes, you can only become part of their training if you are a member of the Catholic Church and have a certain status.
Yeah, well, so when Pope John Paul II came into the papacy, I think it was in 82, if I'm guessing right, one of the first things he did was shut down the exorcist order within the Vatican. Like, they kept a coterie of exorcists. They had a unit, a military unit. I don't know what the word is, an order, I think is the word they use in the church, right? They and Pope John Paul II disbanded it immediately. And so the next thing that the Exorcists did was they made a movie out of the worst case they've ever had, right? And that movie is called The Exorcist. Now, the purpose of the movie is to garner support for the reinstatement of all of the exorcists in the church, right? We have this problem, it's needed, and we're the only ones who can deal with it, right? But let's have a look at what happened in the movie, right? Because none of them could handle that demon. And at the end of the movie, like, the lead exorcist, he says, "Okay, demon, jump into me." And then he jumps out the window and commits suicide, right? That is not really a practice that has anything to do with prayer. That is not a successful exorcism in my mind if it kills the exorcist. Their methodology, if I can say it bluntly, totally sucks. Like, if it kills the exorcist, that is nothing you want to learn. Like, what they're doing, what the church does in terms of exorcism, and I have investigated, is just pathetic, really. It's absolutely pathetic. And these guys are supposed to be, you know, the leaders in the art. But I wouldn't want to emulate that sort of outcome in my practice ever. That's not the way I think exorcism should be done at all.
Hmm. Yeah, you know, to me, I have to say it's surprising that it works at all with the Catholic Church, because in my book, the Catholic Church is a huge part of the problem.
Yeah, well, the theory that I like the best about the Catholic Church is that in 313, Pope Constantine, he decreed that everybody was a Christian, right? And this is a massive about face. This is a 180-degree turn on the concept of, I don't like these pacifist Christians, let's throw them to the lions for entertainment and to teach them a lesson. And so it's really against, and the big problem was that the Christians wouldn't serve in the army, and the armies are what made Rome great. And it was an example that they couldn't tolerate. So for them to turn the entire empire Christian is a little bit loopy, but it does make everybody weak. It does make everybody pacifists, and it makes them rulable, so to speak. It makes them manageable. Rather than each of them being loyal to their own gods, now they are loyal to the priest in Rome. And I also don't think that the top hierarchy, the top echelon of Rome, ever stopped their Babylonian religion of human sacrifice. I don't think they ever stopped it. I think they just told everybody else to choose a weak religion, a religion that makes them weak.
Yeah. So I heard you in another podcast, with Brandon Murphy, that was. And you talked about that every drug has a specific demon. So how did you find that out? Did they introduce themselves at one point, or how did that happen?
Well, look, I used to be in Alcoholics Anonymous management. If you're outside of that firm, it's Alcoholics Anonymous management. If you're inside of the firm, I was a central service office secretary, which is like a pivotal role in that job, in that organization. And I knew that I did 500 AA meetings, right? Because I needed to. And I knew that the story was consistent, that everybody was facing the same problem. And it wasn't until, and I started looking at alternative therapies to resolve it. And it wasn't until I started doing, I went through the Buddhists, the Christians, I went through Landmark of all bloody things, and ended up with the hippies. And they actually, the first thing I did was theta healing, and it's an astral travel class. And for those of you who don't know what astral travel is for, the first thing it is for is a parallel technology to psychology, and more effective, I would say. Now, the third class that I went to, the third weekend class I went to, they showed us the weakest kind of demons, but didn't tell us how to fix it. And so then I started going to anonymous meetings, so all the 12-step meetings that I could go to, all the, alcoholics, narcotics, sex and love, all of the gamblers anonymous, all of them. And I would scan all of the people in there, and all of them are covered with these parasite spirits, or they're called negative entities. They're called pain bodies by Eckhart Tolle. They're called Klingons, and they're the weakest form of demon. And I looked at everybody in these different meetings with slightly different afflictions, but the same sort of story coming out of their mouths. And all of them were covered in these parasite spirits. And I thought, there's something going on here. This is worth investigating. This is something I'm going to pursue. And, and that was 12 years ago. So I've been patient with it, to say the least. But one of the things that I do now is, for every alcoholic, that I have discovered that one of the minions of the god of alcohol, and I have a story about him that I'll tell, is in that person, driving them to drink, creating the obsession, creating the impulse on a constant basis. Because when the human drinks, that little spirit gets fueled. That little spirit gets what it wants. And most of that fuel goes upstairs to the principal demon, whose name is Al-Ghul. Now, and I will get to all of the other drugs, because all of the other drugs are the same but slightly different. But I can explain the god of alcohol really, really well because he is tracked culturally. And his name in the Islamic world is Al Ghul. So not Al Gore, the ex-presidential candidate. Al Ghul, AL-GHUL, right? And in Spain, where the Christian and Muslim empires met, his name is alcohol. And in English, his name is alcohol. And when people say drinking spirits, they are talking about exactly that spirit, Al Ghul. And if you look at history, the city of London was awash with jinn through the 16th and 17th centuries. Like everybody was off their face all the time on jinn. If you and some of the crimes that related to it are hideous and ridiculous. But this is why in London City, you cannot get a beer after 11 p.m. because that place is crazy. Like the way that that place reacts with alcohol is insane. And it's one of Al Ghul's strongholds. But the Muslims know Al Ghul really, really well. They call him the demon of chaos and destruction and rot and fermentation and deterioration and alcohol. And they know his influence and they don't want anything to do with him. And that is why the Muslim religion bans alcohol all across the board, because they know that demon well and they do not want him anywhere near them. This is not to say that the Irish and the Russians don't love that guy. They're really into him. And Oktoberfest, I suppose, in Germany isn't any better. It's kind of like Christmas for alcoholics, isn't it? But this kind of demon, I'll go back and you asked about all of the other drugs. This demon is specific to alcohol, but there is the same kind of demon for marijuana and heroin and ice and ecstasy and mushrooms and everything that you can think of. All of them have a matching demon. And ice was created by the craziness of that chemistry. He's a new guy. He's new to the scene.
Okay.
He's not a natural.
Yeah. Okay. I would agree because I have personal experiences living with an alcoholic. And yes, I agree. There comes a point when you definitely have to admit something else is taking over. And what you know as the regular personality is totally blacked out. It's gone. Yet at the same time, I have to notice that, let's say, Uncle Harry is invited to his mom's. They have a big family dinner, and Uncle Harry drinks during the dinner 1 glass of wine, and that's it. I have never experienced that type of situation with people that are really modest drinkers, and not just for the doctor. You know what I mean?
Well, look, this is the phenomenon, right? It's and we call it blackout in English, mentales nocturnes in Spanish. I don't know what it is in other languages, but it's that moment, right, where enough alcohol is drunk that it shuts off human perception. Like the human mind cannot operate the human body any longer because there's just too much poison, we'll say, in it. And at that time, that is when the minion of alcohol, that's when that little demon inside them takes over the body. And it's dead. It can't wait to be alive. It can't wait to live and live out its horrible, horrible plans. And so this is when all of the absolute worst behaviors come out. And you'll see it because you can see it in their eyes that it's not a human operating that body. It's a something else. And it's this foot soldier demon of the god of alcohol. Now, that's when the worst behaviors happen. That's when all of the fist fights start, the car accidents, half of the people who are murdered are drunk. and half of the murderers, the people doing the murdering, are also drunk. And that is Al Ghul. That's who he is. That he's part of that. He's the motor behind a lot of those situations. It's horrible. It's phenomenal that we accept this in our culture at all.
Yeah. But so in other words, you would agree there is a strong connection between the amount and how you are dealing with it, and yeah, crazy behavior,
Yeah, look,
non-human behavior.
it's different for everybody, you know, like some people have a higher tolerance, then there's body weight to think about. And sometimes the demon has a really tight grip and it only takes 2 sherries for that demon to come in and take control
Yeah.
of the body. It's incredibly variable. But you know, like the key sign that he is there is if you have 2 drinks and you can't stop. Once you've had 2 drinks, you're committed for the rest of the night. You're going to go until either you can't get any more alcohol or you have to sleep. One of the two.
Yeah.
That's a
So
sure sign you have one.
yeah. So you also mentioned the same goes for weed, but what about, I mean, weed also has medicinal properties. So
Well, look,
how, yeah, go
well,
ahead.
look, I'm yet to interview. The god of alcohol, I took it personally. Like I had a personal vendetta against that guy, and and I'll tell that story about how that story completed a little bit further along, because it's not answering the question you've asked. But you know, alcohol has its medicinal part as well. The fermentation has medicinal properties and applications. Weed also has some benefits, you know, like, and you see people with cerebral palsy, they smoke half a joint and they can operate their body again. It's phenomenal, right? And so in some ways, he is the key in the lock to some illnesses. However, like that's not the only application that he has. I mean, I want you to think about teenagers who sit in a basement and play PlayStation for as long as they can and smoke as much weed as they can, you know, and really just zone out of the world and really take 3 steps back and withdraw from planet Earth. And weed helps people do that. That's the energy that weed wants. That's what it wants humans to generate, is laziness and not disinterest or non-compliance, but non-investment in the world around them. They don't feel connected to the world around them because that's what weed makes them feel. And all of the energetic plugs or any connections that would be used there, instead of being fed back into the world, they go back up to the god of weed.
So in other words, I mean, a lot of people feel uncomfortable in this construct right now, and especially the last 3 years were a pinnacle of that.
Yeah.
So it is understandable that people are looking for a wealth and somehow have the feeling, I don't want to be that connected to this reality. It's
Well,
crazy out there.
it's a demonic paradise. Like if you look, and if you think that our rulers, our betters, our chiefs are liars, cheats, thieves, which is not to mention like the stuff around child abduction and Jeffrey Epstein, and like there is like and I'm guessing that everything that is illegal is precisely the playbook of the very, very top elite. This is what they do all day, is you can tick off the laws they're breaking every single day. Like that's how they operate, that's what they do. Because I would suggest to you that the top echelons of Earth management you can't get into those jobs without being a Freemason, and you can't become a 33rd degree Freemason without selling your soul. And so my suggestion is that every single world leader is a slave of a demonic hierarchy.
Mhm.
And in some cases, our teams have flown over and checked. We've looked at this particular world leader and we've kicked out all of the major demons that we can find. We've dissolved the key covenants, the key agreements that they have. And then the next day, you'll hear them make an announcement that reverses the pandemic legal structure. And then one day later, they're reclaimed by the demonic hordes and they go back to the old policy.
Mhm.
We've done
So,
this on a number of occasions.
so in other words, when you kick them out, that does not last. They come back.
Well, look, in those, well, those are key figures. Like those
Mhm.
decision makers, they cannot allow them to be released. They cannot allow them to be not controlled.
Mhm. Let's
But you know,
say,
like they sold their soul to get those big jobs.
okay, so let's say, even if it is highly unlikely, let's say somebody has an epiphany and comprehends that that is part of the problem and that he would like to get rid of all the entities that are attached to them. And maybe they contact even somebody like you. And is that then, if it's from their own consciousness, their own accord, is that a game changer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, and I'm not talking in terms of world leaders here, but you know, my patients, my clients, like they take their life path takes a sharp turn once I clear everything out of them. Like
Mhm.
they are new people, you know, and you get my most common client is a parent who is at their wit's end with what to do with one of their children, who is just completely off the rails. Now they could be mentally ill, they could just love drugs all day. But what happens is once the demons are cleared out of them, you know, and a parent will know that the child that they grew up with and the monster they are as an adult are two completely different people. And once you clear out the monster, that child comes back again. That bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid comes back. And I quote one of my clients who said, "I have to get to know my son again. He's a completely different person. I barely recognize him." You know, like because he is internally so different.
Mm.
It's a solution that we just haven't seen to that sort of problem.
Mm. And would you say that one reason why rehab is failing a lot of people is because they do not take this element into consideration?
Yep, no, there's nobody seems to take this element into consideration. The
Mm.
look, and through my work with Alcoholics Anonymous, I can tell you that all rehabs are about 5 or 10% effective. All right, 1 year after they exit rehab, 90 or 95% of them are back where they started a year ago. They're back using whatever their favorite thing is, telling all the lies, making all of the crazy lifestyle choices that they do. It's just a given.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Yeah.
is not
It's
very
it's
promising.
no, the treatment is pathetic, and I've gone and I've gone and visited all of those facilities in my role just to see what everybody's doing. And most of the staff members are what's called weekend warriors who go out and take drugs on the weekend, you know, who go to dance parties and spend 48 hours awake. Like I don't know what they have to offer them. Like they can't tell them anything useful as far as I can tell. But but you know, they're the ones who work there. You know, they're just as likely to end up on the inside as an inmate, as a patient as they are as staff. Like it's a ridiculous game, but you know, people will shell out any amount of money in that situation for their own kids because they just love them more than they know what to do with them.
Hmm. Yeah. So how would you define a demon?
How would I define demon? Good question. All right. It's actually far more simple than you'd guess. There are, come on, Kitty, come on, out of the camera, Kitty, come on. I know you can't. I know you need the attention, but really not now. Okay. So
Yeah, but
yeah.
you know, the thing is, if I push her away, she will go after a few minutes. As she always does. But the harder I try to push her back, the harder she comes back.
The more she wants to be here, right? Yeah. God bless you,
So I
Kitty.
let her roam around here a little bit, and then usually she loses interest and go.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. Well, look, you know, we love you, Kitty, but can we love you later? So yeah, what's the difference between what's my definition of a demon? All right. Now, the research I've been doing actually validates everything somebody called Ashiana Dean said 10 or 20 years ago. Right? Everything that she said is basically right. And our astral travel teams are confirming this through contact time. This is what we are discovering. When we discover everything about demonkind, Ashiana Dean has already described this. And if she's still alive, somebody put me in contact with her, please. Yes, okay. And the story goes a little bit.
Her material
Sorry.
is found on YouTube. The channel is called Voyagers. Maybe that way you can contact her.
Yeah, no, no. It's as it turns out, it's not run by her. It's run by somebody else who's
Okay.
getting paid for the YouTube views. But you know, I'm reaching out to these people, and I don't. You know, I have been unsuccessful so far.
Okay.
So if anyone knows her, please please put us together. But you see, demons are dead. They are and because they are dead. I'm sorry. Human beings are connected to source. They are connected to the perpetual motion machine that is creation. And the big G, or whatever you want to call him, feeds us. And there's a fountain through our soul, and there's a fountain of energy that comes through the soul. Now, these bad guys cannot actually penetrate the soul. They can't get in there and manipulate it, but they can create an environment around it. And they do so that they can stimulate bad emotions in the human, and those emotions are their favorite food. So can you just give me a second? Sorry, no, it's okay. Sorry. God bless the editors for that one. So, so the
Demon disembodied entity.
yeah, sorry. Like, and now the only source of fuel that they have is from source, but they are disconnected. They cannot get to the fuel directly. They have to parasite off of something that is A, spiritually underdeveloped, and B, connected to source. And planet Earth and humanity fits that description. We never understood what they were, and we were never able to push them away. So they've penetrated very, very deeply into individual humans and human culture at large. Now, how do I define a demon? It's a parasite spirit. If it was isolated and left on its own, it is fundamentally entropic, and it would wind down and die and dissipate into dust. It needs, in our case, humanity or another species of soul-connected beings to parasite from. And they will die. And like all parasites, when you disconnect the parasite from the host, the parasite dies and the host thrives. And that is the situation that humanity has with demonkind. Does that answer your question directly, or was that too long?
No, that's perfectly fine. So is there a limited amount of demons, or are there popping up new ones all the time?
Well, actually, they have factories. There are a few ways that they are manufactured. And I say manufactured because in a lot of cases, they are built specifically to go and connect to people. Some people, they feed on human emotion, but some people know how to create them and know how to create connections for their masters in order to appease them and to feed them and to pay them for the spells for their requests. But places with lots of abject misery, like prisons and refugee camps and places like that, all of the misery is collected, and then there are facilities specific to coalescing that misery and turning it into a spirit. And from when it becomes a spirit, it's very easy to jump on one of the miserable people in those facilities. Also, some of the more serious demons are able to duplicate themselves under very, very specific circumstances, but you have to be open to them and you have to be creating the same emotion. So if somebody's in deep despair, you have to be really willing and open and listening to them, and you also have to be feeling the same emotion. If your body generates despair, then the despair demon will literally duplicate and jump on you as well. This often, now drugs help this because they discombobulate your natural defenses against them. And sex is another way where you're open enough that they can jump across. But it's a very, very specific situation that they occur on.
Okay, so in other words, they are still being produced. So when you knock them out in the astral realm, do you feel sometimes, like Sisyphus? And
Yeah,
because they are constantly coming more?
Well, and yeah, I get you. And the price of doing it is too high. I couldn't live with myself knowing just how much suffering occurs because of them. And I couldn't live with myself not doing it. When there was a time where I would just ride around on trains all through the city, just back and forth, wherever. And people would get on, and I'd just pick the one with the most demons and clear them all off that person. And then I'd pick the next one and clear them all off that person. And then when I was happy with that, I'd go to the next carriage and start again. And, everybody's day, everybody had a better day. Everybody's life was somehow improved. They're not going to go, if they have like an anger demon, they're not going to go home and start yelling because the stimulus isn't there. And so I think it helped a lot of people. And it was just, for me, it was just target practice because I wanted to become very, very good at this. I've seen exactly how much change occurs in people when you do this well. And I actually have a video of it on my YouTube channel, Alobar Jones. It's a perfect example, and the results are very, very expectable. And the girl is ecstatic for the first time in years. And, she's a completely new person. You can see it in her face. It's wonderful.
Mm. So would you say depression is also part of it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, for those of you who know the book Power versus Force, and you may not want to read the whole book, but there's that scale of emotions that everything that under 200 is a degenerative emotion. So shame, remorse, sadness, regret, etc., etc. All of those are entropic. you will leak energy into those feelings. They don't create anything, they do the opposite. And there is a specific demon for every single emotion like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one for despair, there's one for sadness, there's one for regret, there's one for hopelessness, there's one for anger, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah. So we are bathing in a demon soup.
They love it. They've never had it so good ever. You know, our population is burgeoning, and nobody is policing this. This, in fact, the opposite. You know, like guys like me are ridiculed as weirdos when I'm helping as much as anybody could be.
Mm. You talked about knocking out demons on the train. Are you willing to elaborate a little bit? So how do I have to envision that?
All right, so I'd be sitting on the train, and people who are on public transport are not the richest people. They're not the most functional people. They're people who are living lives that have an element of less than awesomeness. And so I would scan these people on the train, and I would see that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one. Great. And I got it down that for some of them, it takes just a few seconds and they're disintegrated. And so I would just concentrate on shooting that one, and then I'd shoot that one, and then I'd shoot that one, and that one, and that one. And then after a long sleep, I imagine that person, I never spoke to any of them, and I imagine that their life would improve because without the emotional parasites that they've got.
Mm. And when you say shooting, you mean mentally?
Yes, sorry. Sorry, I would astral travel over to this person and do my thing and disintegrate the demon. Like there are no firearms involved, if that answers the question.
Yeah,
That would be a different train ride if some weird. Yeah, okay.
Oh, there's that guy again. In a minute, he starts shooting.
Oh, look, some demons panic when they see me, and I'm at a point where I can interview demons. Like I can call the demons, and they'll speak out the person's mouth, just like a channeling of these guys. And they all hate my guts. Apparently, my name has been passed around demonkind, and everybody knows who I am because I'm one of the very small number of people who successfully kills them every time I meet them. Like, and they regard me somewhere between an annoyance and a genuine threat to their whole organization. It's quite entertaining.
Mm. You know, in pop culture, usually demons is something that has to be feared, and they are so powerful and mighty. But that is just my personal take on it. Because
Well,
of
look, and
their
they do.
parasitic nature, I find them rather pathetic.
And you understand it. They are pathetic. Hollywood has put a lot of time and effort into the public relations image of demonkind. When actually, if you talk to them, if you met them, like they are ridiculous. They are absolutely pathetic and childish, and they're morons. Like I can't say it clearly enough how just if you met them as a person, you would want to slap them immediately. Like wake up to yourself. Like it would be but instead, like a lot of them, and remember that the demons that inhabit most people are slaves themselves. Like there's no love, there's no kindness in their society. And when I talk to them, I'm one of the few people who actually speaks to them on the same level. All of their society is either the intimidator or the intimidated. That's the only two positions that their society allows for. Do what I tell you or I'll eat you. That's it. That's basically all of their interactions. So when I speak to them on an even keel and with a little bit of respect, they're really, really quite open to talking to me. And they tell me things that they can't tell their bosses or their peers.
Mm.
Interestingly, a lot of them want to be euthanized. And I say it this way, imagine depression, right? You have depression. Now, a depression demon these are simple and weak constructs, and they are only capable of feeling one single emotion, and that is depression, that is sadness, that is regret, whatever it might be, right? And imagine if you had no choice but to feel that all the time for all of existence, for eternity. You only could feel regret or sadness of some kind. Imagine that. Most of these guys want to be put out of their own misery. They just don't know how. And the other great myth about these spirits is that they can be converted and they can be brought back to the light. And that is fundamentally not true. I have gone through countless experiments trying to convert them, and their anatomy does not allow for it. As a construct, they collapse on themselves. Like these guys, I don't know how to describe it. Like in contact with love or just something as simple as goodness and kindness, they find those emotions caustic and they start to disintegrate in contact with them. You can't convert them into that when they start to disintegrate. It just doesn't work. And we've tried endless experiments, all with the same result. It's hopeless. We are just better to exterminate them for our good and theirs too.
Yeah, so they are afraid of their misery and their pathetic existence.
Their eternity of misery, yeah.
Yeah.
My question to you, Judith, is how did you get interested in this topic? Well, I've seen your channel and you interview like very, very knowledgeable people on this topic. So how did you get into it?
Yeah. Okay, I have to elaborate a little bit. When I was a little child,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking here 3 or 4 years old,
Mm-hmm.
I always had the feeling everything here is wrong. Everything is upside down. I couldn't exactly put my finger on it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few experiences. I give you a quick one. My parents had magazines in the house. So at that stage, I wasn't able to read, but I had a look at the images in it. And during that time, there was a big war between Nigeria and Biafra. And Biafra, you had the photos of the kids with the hunger bellies and so on and so forth. So I saw these images. A couple of pages later, I saw huge trucks smashing, loaded with oranges and smashing them into the ocean. And then I took my magazine and I marched to my mother and I demanded answers.
Yeah, totally.
So first of all, I wanted to know what about these children with the big bellies, and my mother explained to me, yeah, well, they are going hungry, and that if you do that for a longer time, that is the result of it. And then I showed her the image with the oranges being destroyed. And she said, yeah, well, people are doing that so that the prices do not go down. And I didn't say anything. I closed the magazine, turned around, and at that very moment, I knew that the grown-ups have no idea either what is going on here. They just pretend.
I don't meet that many grown-ups. I really don't. Like, there's not that many out there. Like people who get this, what's going on here. There's just not many. There's not that many at all. And like people who are out there trying to solve the problem. But this doesn't directly lead to demons. Like, how did that become the answer that you were looking
I
for?
always felt a little bit estranged here. And I think that was what ultimately led to that path. to, you know, I like when people analyze the 3D world, what's going on in politics and what is here and what is there. That is all good and fine. That is not my subject, because there is a layer underneath or above, see it as you like. There is another layer that is ruling this entire construct, and that is my interest. There are enough people out there who analyze and pull the 3D
Do
reality.
political analysis. There's tons of them. There's no shortage whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah. And but I very early on, I had a strong feeling that here is something fundamentally wrong. And of course, yeah, okay, I got conditioned as well. And then I had my job. And
Well, congratulations to you, because you got the answer right. Like, this is the big question. What's going on here? What's the missing piece of this puzzle? And you got the answer right. Once you add the element of demons into global management, or global mismanagement might be a better word for it, everything makes sense. Everything makes sense. Like, they find the most horrible people, the worst people. Like, they take them to Epstein Island, they photograph them doing terrible things so that they can blackmail them forever, and then give them a fantastic, powerful job. So they'll do exactly what they're told. And they probably keep supplying them with little kids. Like, it's boggling that those are the people that we find to manage our world, that is the system that we use. It is dumbfounding. And the only way to describe that is demonic. The only way to describe it. Speaking on international politics, there is an issue. And I think it's safe to say that our world is undergoing change, and that you and I are just, this conversation is just the tip of the iceberg. We are the pointy part of the spear. Right? And it's moving forward very, very quickly. I expect that demonkind will be exterminated. And I genuinely tell you, 50% at my hand, because I manage teams of people, very, very talented mystics, specifically to do just that. That's the target, that's the goal, that's the point. We can exterminate them and get them off our planet. There's a chance that our world will become sane, that will start doing sane things. And people will, wars could be ended if, there's enough sane people who who would rather make an agreement or some kind of treaty than watch all of their young men kill each other. Like, there's got to be a better way than doing that. But there is an element that nobody is talking about, and it's the reason that everything is upside down. And I'm going to go to secrecy. I'm going to say something about secrecy. Now, the reason why everybody remembers in 2001 how the planes crashed into the towers on September 11. What happened on September 10? Donald Rumsfeld was dragged into Congress, and he was forced to explain that 2.3 trillion had disappeared into his military, and he was asked to explain where it all went.
Next day, nobody talked about it.
Yeah. So, and they're willing to do that in order to maintain the secrecy of where the money goes. And so you have these, and you have a theorist called Richard Dolan, who is fantastic theory on ufology. And he says there's something called a breakaway civilization, in that, like, planet Earth has undergone, what is it, almost 80 years without war. Almost 80 years. And everybody's been employed and everybody's worked hard. But where is the wealth? Where is the mega abundance that comes from 80 years of peace, and where we're growing where we are more productive per unit of labor than ever before. Where is it all? And the answer that he suggests is that this Earth civilization is supplying a star-faring civilization, a secret space program. And how much does a secret space program cost? Well, $2.3 trillion 2001 dollars would be a good answer. That's probably that's enough. That could pay for it. That could actually pay for it. And there is one element here in that story that horrifies me, and there doesn't seem to be an end game for that. And it is the reptilians.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The reptilians have an underground city. And they created, as deities and spirits are creatable, they created a lot of spirits to manage the loosh from the kids that disappear every year. And I spoke to one of these loosh management minor demon lords, and he said that all of the kids are disappearing underground to a reptilian colony that he said was 1 million people strong, 1 million reptilians strong, and that there are several million kids fed through their pipelines downstairs to that underground civilization every year. They are also a parasitic species. They need to bully somebody or something. And humanity is really susceptible to that. Now, there's two parts to this. One is that humanity's rulership is made of 13 families, and those 13 families are hybrids, if not fully reptilians, and they hide their identity using the technologies that they have, both spiritual organic and mechanical electronic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. However, like, I foresee a time where humanity defeats the rulership caste of Earth, and they are pushed, and these guys are dragged out into the street and hung. That we have max executions. That the guillotine comes back. I foresee all of that in the next few years.
Okay. But yeah, you could, let's say when you have the story of the Antichrist, yeah, then if that would come to fruition, then the guillotines would be for us.
Yeah, look, I want you to look up something called The Line in
Lion or lion?
LINE, The Line. It's a prison facility that they're building in Saudi Arabia, designed to hold 500 million human beings. It's several hundred kilometers long. And you know, we've heard Agenda 21 and Agenda 2021 and Agenda 2030, where they want to maintain the human population at about 500 million. And there is something under construction in Saudi Arabia called The Line that is designed to do specifically that, where they can lock us all in jail and give us crickets to eat. And then other species can roam the planet at will.
Mm-hmm. So that's the plan.
That's the plan. That's the plan. However, let's get this straight. I work with several dozen other very high-end mystics. Like, I'm so impressed. They're all so competent. They're all so powerful. And we gang together and we fly around and we shut down nefarious plans. the which direction do I want to take this in? The timeline where humanity is enslaved is no longer feasible.
Okay.
There is no possibility that mankind is enslaved. There is no future. I mean, even the looking glass technologies all agree with that. All of the mechanical crystal balls that they use all agree with this. There's no future where the bad guys win. And our teams have done a lot to make sure that they don't.
But that doesn't mean we can kick back and relax, grab the popcorn and watch the show.
No. Just because our enemies in trouble doesn't mean we should stop advancing. Absolutely, we should continue to advance. Like after this interview, I think there's 8 or 10 of us who are ganging up to go after BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and see what we can do there, because that is one of the last control apparatuses that they still own. And if we take the demonic elements out of it, I wonder what will happen. It will be weaker no matter which way we look at it, if it doesn't collapse altogether.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Oh, look.
So I wish you all the best.
Oh, look, you know, yeah. We've won the war. We've won the war, but there is one last battle that I don't know if humanity will succeed in. And it looks a little bit like this. Once humanity gets rid of the ruling caste on Earth, we will stop feeding children to that underground city of reptilians. Naturally, they will be upset. Quite understandably, they will be upset. And and we have been sending kids down there to appease them so that they don't come up here and start causing trouble. And I imagine quite clearly that as soon as they do reach the surface, that the fighting will start immediately. I think everybody who knows what a reptilian is and owns a gun will try and use it. I think it will just happen immediately. But humanity does not have the technology to defeat them. Humanity will be destroyed in that fight unless we pull a rabbit out of the hat, and very soon. We have, I think it's 2 years to find a solution to that problem. And
yeah, that would correspond. Would correspond to what Damien Dumas said at 2025, the reptilian harvest.
Yeah, look, it's a very serious problem, you know, and I'm sure we'll come up with a solution. You know, if we're lucky, then the Pleiadians or the Arcturians or perhaps even the Syrians will provide us with some weapons to fight this battle. The likelihood that they fight on our behalf is very small. I don't see any of them ever putting any of their people at risk for humanity, for the Earthlings.
No, of course not.
I think they're quite happy to tell us that there are brothers and sisters from the stars, but help us? No, I don't think so. Like genuine, actual help, I'm just not seeing it. You know, people tell me that
I don't even see Arcturians, Pleiadians as a positive force anyway. To me, you know, there are a lot of channelers out there, and they are all holding Pleiadians in high regard, and they are doing and informing humanity and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so no, that is not my take on it.
Well, look, you know, if somebody was to tell me that the Pleiadians are our allies, I would ask them to prove it. What have they done for us? Because I don't see anything they've done. Right now, like the mainstream spiritual movement is obsessed with these med beds that, you know, the Pleiadians are offering us. That's not what we need. Yeah. We want fucking space age. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. We want space age weapons so we can go and destroy that city of Reptilian. We need something that will defeat them. Medbeds, if they were really, really good, if they were really, really genuinely, what's the word I'm looking for, altruistic, then the plans on how to build them would be open source. Everybody could download them and build them in their shed if they've got the know-how to do it. But they're not doing that. They're dangling them like a carrot in front of a donkey and just getting us to keep stepping forward. I will even tell a story. I had one of the secret space programs, they wanted to recruit me. Of course they did. Like, they wanted me to go to and I entertained it because, like, maybe there's something interesting there. The base that I was supposed to work on, right? It was a joint Earthling, Pleiadian and Arcturian base, right? The original treaty was for a 3-species base. Once they got the permission to build a base underground, then they renegotiated, then they renegotiated, then they renegotiated, then they renegotiated. And in the end, the Pleiadians and the Arcturians get to have a base underground, and the humans are allowed on the surface to defend their base. Like, that's not helping humanity. Humanity doesn't get anything out of that. We just sold our real estate for I don't know what. What did we get out of that? Like this.
So now I have to bring this in. How do you see angels? What people usually understand as angels? Have you ever encountered some? And what is your experience?
Okay, so I've got one overarching story to tell in which I talk about Metatron, and Metatron is the Lord of angels and demons. Archangel Michael and Satan and Lucifer both answer to him. And I'm going to put this in context of a city. You know, the police force, the police commissioner is Archangel Michael, and the crime bosses are Lucifer and Satan. Would you want to live in that city if both of those organizations answer to the same boss? Like, do you trust the police in that situation? Of course not. Of course you don't.
Yeah.
They'll
And of
never
course,
actually
Metatron comes
stop the
with a
bad
cube.
guys. What's that?
And Metatron, of course, comes with a cube. You know, that thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, black cube technology. I actually talk about it in one of my YouTube videos, and I actually talk about the source of all evil and what we do about it. And the black cube technologies are in there. The underpinnings of the Matrix, what demon lords are all interested in. It's all in a video of mine called "The Absolute Solution to All the Craziness on Earth," and it actually talks a lot about how Ashiana Dean, what we call the mirror dimensions, and what Ashiana Dean calls the Wiesadek matrix, and how it's punched a hole in space-time to be here. It doesn't belong, and that the facility at CERN actually exists to study and expand the hole in space-time that Metatron has punched around Earth. And like, anyway, that video, it's only 45 minutes, but it explains a lot. I'm just signposting it here. But if you liked Ashiana Dean, you will love that video. It's her whole theory re-explained without big fancy words like Wiesadek matrix. The guy when evil, which is a foreign thing to our galaxy, punches through here, what is the thing that penetrates through? It is Metatron's cube, and it projects everything out of Metatron's cube. Metatron's cube is also a conduit for all of the loosh that's collected from Earth to go through here, and all of the manipulation that comes out of it. So it's the key artery that connects us to evil. And that's what Metatron's cube is. Why humanity believes that any religion will profit from connecting to Metatron absolutely baffles me. He is the arch nemesis, and he is invading hundreds of worlds in our galaxy and across many others. He is the monster that wants to eat existence. I think there's even a legend of Tiamat where he's a many-headed dragon who wants to eat reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I have never seen him as a positive force. It really
No.
puzzled me when a lot of people, Metatron. Yeah, okay. I had an interview with Anna Reithort, and in that interview, she said that a lot of people out there in the galaxy are watching what is happening here on Earth precisely because they are convinced if we can free ourselves, they can do it as well. Would you agree with that?
I would go a step further. All right.
Okay.
Human beings the human body has been manipulated by 50 different species, I'll suggest, right? And what did they do? They made this Earthling's body into a hot rod. So look, they got the engine block from the Pleiadians, the brain from the Arcturians, the exhaust system and the fuel injection from the Syrians, and this from these guys, and bits and pieces from everywhere. All of the highest grade genetics that are available have all been put into this body, and it works. It's all of our systems integrate, and we can breed with each other and continue that exchange. And why did they do that? Because it's my theory that humanity is the weapon, that we are biological and organic. Everything artificial and electronic is the work of evil, is the work, AI is the Metatron's cube again, is just an extension of Metatron, is another way to put it. And Metatron is all head and no heart. Right? That is a key part of being evil. Now, there are 3 CPUs in the human body. The Arcturians just have a head, the Pleiadians just have a heart, and I don't even know where the gut instinct comes from. But some other species just uses that raw animal gut instinct. And those 3 CPUs are what make us powerful. We can integrate we can go head to head against the AI or evil or whatever you want to call it, or Metatron. And we can match him there. This brain is powerful enough to do that. But we have a brain that they can't touch, and that's the heart. And that motivates us. The heart is the part of us that they cannot touch. They can never break the human heart. That's why all of the mystics are saying, be in your heart, be in your heart, be in your heart, because you cannot be defeated there. You cannot be hurt there. Once you get into your head, it's feasible, but you don't want to be the kind of person who's all heart and no head. You'll be homeless faster than you can say, but I just wanted to help everybody. Right? It's that our world is not going to be kind to you in that situation, right? And the third one is the third brain, if we needed one, is gut instinct. We have something called a solar plexus. Now, a plexus is an insect brain. Insects don't have enough space in there to have a real brain, so they have all these bundles of nerve endings that all crisscross over each other, and it forms a primitive computer. And so that's why the gut instinct doesn't have elaborate stories. It just says, do it or don't do it. Yes, no. Get involved, don't get involved. Just very simple black and white binary answers. That's all that computer has to offer. So if the complexity of these 2 is too much, we just refer to that one and it tells us a very, very straight, simple answer. These 3 brains make us a weapon. We have the head to beat them face to face. We have the heart, which will never be defeated, the part of them that can never be, part of us that can never be destroyed, and the gut as a fail-safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else? Like, this is the plot of Isaac Asimov's novel, what's it called? I, Robot. In iRobot, like the AI was trying to take over the world. So somebody who saw it coming, that he built a robot with a head brain, like all the other robots, and a heart brain, which none of them had. And the heart brain made it more powerful than all the other robots, and it stopped the catastrophe. And that is exactly what the human body is designed to do. And who's the lady who does the Camelot, Project Camelot?
Carrie
What's her name again?
Cassidy.
Carrie Cassidy. Carrie Cassidy said it quite subtly. She says she thinks that the Pleiadians want us to win so that we can help them with a war. And that is exactly true. That is precisely true. And I dare you to find someone who's better researched than that lady. Like what she doesn't know isn't worth knowing.
Yeah, I see her very critical, I have to say. I stopped following her years and years ago. And when she went full on the QAnon wagon, that was chapter closed. I'm no longer
Look,
listening. Enough of that
well, look,
nonsense.
you know, well, look, and
The
the
moment
latest
you
stuff
come
I've
with a
heard from,
savior program to me, you are done.
yeah. Well, look, and well, her latest, the latest way she's relating to them is going, so if you're going to do something, what are you waiting for? You know, you've dragged your feet, you've talked the talk, now walk your walk. And now she's been critical of that group, you know, and I understand why she got caught up in the hope that they offer, but obviously, you know, obviously it was a hoax, a lot like
Yeah,
Kim
but
Gogan
with her
actually.
experience and all the interviews that she did, sorry, I expected more.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
expected more discernment. That is just my point of view. I know many, many people love her, and that is their business. I'm not one of them.
yeah. Well, I quote her on that because she's probably interviewed more secret space program defectors than anybody, you know.
Yeah.
She's spoken to
So
more of
how
those.
when you guys go out and what you are planning later on today, so how does that translate into 3D here?
Well, look, and I'll talk about the first and the second hermetic law, right? Everything is mental, so everything's an idea before it can then. And the Buddhists say something very similar. You know, everything's an idea before it can become physical. And then you have the second hermetic law, which is as above, so below. So once you complete the idea in the higher planes, then you can push it down into the 3D. Well, you know, what we do is we literally go and destroy the idea and kill all of the beings who are involved in it, all of the non-physical spirits who are involved in its construction, defense, implementation, everything. And not just the idea. We then follow we then find the portals where the boss lives, and we follow the wormholes to their dimensions, and we kill them and destroy all of that infrastructure, and we follow it as high as we can go, because all of them have to go. There's no room for any of it. If any of these major demon lords have a program to limit or to hurt Earthlings, then we regard it as our job to go and punch their heads in without being funny about it. You know, like, it's our job to destroy them. That's what these groups are formed for, and the basis that we operate on. That's what we do. I train people in to this level of operation as well. It takes my trainings take about a year before you get to that, before you're flying missions with us.
Yeah, and so a year. And what else does that training entail?
I just teach you how to astral travel. I'll teach you what's under the hood of most of the religions. You know, every religion was started by a very competent astral traveler, and then and I'll show you what's in Hinduism, what's in Judaism, what's in Islam, what ancestor worship's about, like all of the different religions. And like a mechanic, I'll show you what the motor is and what's under the hood.
Yeah.
So where does this one lead? And then I'll show you all of the things that everybody talks about, like past life regression and soul work and dimensional structure and architecture, along with what deities of different places, introducing you to different species, demon crushing, along if I have a list on my website because it's more than I can explain. And medical intuition's part of it as well. I can't even remember all of the things I teach because I've got at least 52 52 classes that I teach.
Okay, so what about soul contracts? Do they exist? Is it useful to
Okay. So souls are dopey people. We've got a client right now, and we've taken all the demons out of him at least 6 times. But his soul wants to explore what it would be like to be abused by dozens of demons, right? And so it's kind of like a Stockholm syndrome. Well, because he's dopey. The souls are dopey. Like they're not think the way we do. They're very, very simple and innocent creatures. And so, some of the questions they ask, and when I say questions, I mean like missions or investigations or experiments that they want to do with the human body are just stupid. Like one I was treating one girl, and she said, like, my boyfriend and I, it's a torturous relationship and neither of us want to be in it, but we just keep coming back together and I don't get it. And we spoke to her soul, and her soul said, I want to know if love is possible when one lover actually owns. Is it like one lover is the property of the other? And a 6-year-old kid can go, that wouldn't work. But this soul had repeated this experiment. This is the 11th life where they're trying to do it. And I said, is it getting closer or further away from its success? And the soul sort of laughed and goes, yeah, it's never going to work. It's even harder than when we started. And like, we're channeling this soul, and I'm going, what's wrong with you? Like, do you realize how much torture you're creating? So, some of our conversations with souls are really ungrounded people. They're really follow a really, I'd say, I can't use the word dopey, but dreamy curiosity. And so, sometimes you can bring them around to see something, to see the world your way. Sometimes you can't. And those contracts, all contracts are null and void. Contract is not required in a godly world. Like, everybody lives up to their word and everybody continues for as long as it's still useful, profitable, helpful to one or both parties. Like, when people say, I'll be with you forever, they actually mean it. They don't need a contract to pull them back into alignment, because these good souls, when they commit, they really do commit. And the thing about a contract is you never ever exit a demonic contract. There's no way out of them. Like, one party will never be satisfied. They will keep asking you to perform for them forever.
Unless the demon is destroyed.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, that helps a lot.
I would assume at that moment the contract is null and void. Yeah. So, okay, to wrap this up, can you say a few words? I saw the video on your channel about the Saturn Moon matrix.
Say that again.
The Saturn Moon matrix. Can you say a few words about that?
Oh, right. Yeah, no, we took down the Saturn Moon matrix. So Saturn, or from which we get the word Saturday, which is the holy day of a lot of things. Now, Saturn is the planet that holds the provinces of law, finances, and authority, right? Saturn is a critical energy for rulership of this planet. Like, they need to bring Saturn energy here all the time. Now, they've mixed it with lunar energy, which is victim, which is a little bit like victim energy. And so they've created this authority from Saturn and the weak and abused feminine soft side, which is supposed to be imposed on all of us. And they've linked all of that up with black cube technology and forced the ruler and ruled philosophies to Earth. So there's non-equality to where we have to listen to the blue buds or accept the judgments of our betters. And that's fundamental to what they're doing. And so our team, once we got a lead on this and became aware of it, we launched a campaign. And I think we got it in 2 or 3 missions. We dismantled this, and it was very well established and very strong. And so we went and we destroyed the black cube bases on the moon and in Saturn, and their connections to Earth and the core of Gaia. So we went ham on it because it's the Saturn moon matrix holds ruler and ruled. And now that Saturn moon matrix is gone, people are free to realize and resettle that opinion and that sort of entire philosophy. The work that our teams have been doing, I do recommend that you check out my channel, Alobar Jones. It's the name at the bottom of my picture here.
And it will be in the description box, the link.
Yeah, that we can do that too. Yeah, but it's like the work that we've been doing over the last few years is all cataloged there, and it's fascinating and interesting, and it explains what's going on behind the scenes for the liberation of Earth. Also, if you've watched this video all the way to the end, and I like to believe I've said some interesting things. If you have been doing this sort of work, if you are an astral traveler yourself, we would like to recruit you. If you would like to lift your sword for humanity, then please get in touch with me and you can join our gangs, and we'll go out and we'll kick some ass for Earth and the Earthlings. That's what we do. So, we're always recruiting. We do expect that you've done 10,000 hours of meditation at least. There's no room for passengers on these rides. Everybody's got to look after themselves, and everybody's got to be competent in dealing with these global and interplanetary issues. That being said, I've been learning from our peers who have incredible techniques and knowledge that we share openly and freely in this forum. And I'm learning so much from them, as well as the discoveries we are making in contact time with the infrastructure around our planet and within our planet. It's and we call ourselves the Jedi Council, because what we expect is once our ruling caste is swept away, somebody is going to have to look after Earth's energetic field, and we think we're the most competent group on Earth to do so. And so we will, once they're gone, we will be claiming the title Jedi Council, and we will be managing Earth's energetic fields. Because if we don't do it, some other bunch of galactic punks, be they reptilian or otherwise, are going to show up and do it for us. And we are not love and light. If we want to claim our planet back, then we will reclaim this territory in the only way territories are claimed, through military force. There are many, many beings who really do want a spiritual fist to face. And we're the ones who deliver that on a regular basis. Our teams fly at the moment at least 6 missions a week. So we would love to have you on board. And we have our European teams, our Australian teams, and our American teams are always recruiting, and we will find and there's most likely a time slot that will work for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
And
if you've
is there
enjoyed what
something
I've
like
said-
is there something like an age limit, or
no,
or is there something where you say it makes no sense to train that person?
no. If you can do it, then you're welcome to do it. If you can hold your own on the astral planes, then you're very, very welcome to fly with us. Our latest recruit is 64 years old, and she thinks the whole thing is a hoot. She laughs all the way through, because with a gang like us, everything is very, very simple and straightforward. Like there's so much power in us, it's ridiculous. And I say that us human beings are a weapon, because we are actually using ourselves as weapons, and the results are fantastic. But you know, everything I do, it's on my YouTube channel, or not. I can't even keep up. I can't even make videos about half the missions we do. But by all means, get on there, watch them, because I guarantee you'll be entertained. I do have to make a plug for my business and say, if you or a loved one you know suffers from serious mental health issues, and you would like an assessment of how serious it is and what we can do about it, please get in touch, because I do get results that nobody else gets.
Yeah, excellent.
Find me. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is also in line with what Jerry Musinski said about mental health.
Oh, you should probably put us together. He sounds like a very entertaining fellow.
Yeah, I have a couple of interviews with him on my channel. He worked for more than 30 years in one of the biggest prisons and in the mental health hospital. And he was the one who noticed that it cannot be all hallucinations. He worked predominantly with so-called schizophrenics, and then
Yeah.
it dawned on him that this is a case of possession.
Well, look, you know, all of the possessions all talk about spiritual mumbo jumbo.
Hmm.
And and I dare anyone to find a better candidate for the multiple personalities than demons. Like, if you stop and think about it for 15 seconds, where do the multiple personalities come from? Demons actually fit that description. Demons are actually quite feasible in that scenario. And I can tell you from my experience, it's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're a minority now, and our time will come, you know.
Okay.
This will become the world's knowledge on how to deal with mental health.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Can't hardly wait. So I thank you so much for your time, and doing this interview was very, very interesting. And we have to talk again.
I do hope so.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm putting together a mini series or a set of podcasts on interviewing demon lords. And so when that time comes, when I come to getting close to releasing that, I'd love to come on your show again and tell everybody about it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we will do that. You have my
Wonderful.
email address, and
Absolutely.
you can contact.
Wonderful.
So that was it, guys. Night flight for today with the wonderful Alobar Jones. And if you're
And may the
interested,
force be with you all.
not May the 3rd, not May the 5th, May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you all.
Okay, see you all
All right.
next time. Stay
See you
safe
all
and
later.
sound out there.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.